In this series of videos, we're going to talk about ways to do some enhancements, do some cleaning up of images. Now, this is a photo that I took and artistically modified. And I now want to do some things to it to clean it up. And I'm going to use the tools that you're going to use in this project, Project 6, to show you how to use those. Okay, so if we come over here to our tool palette and pull this tab down, you'll see we have spot healing brush tool. There's something that's relatively new to Photoshop that's called content aware. I'm going to show you how to do that too, how to use that too. And then down here we have the clone stamp tool, and we're going to use those to clean up some of the issues that are in this image. Okay, so one of the things I want to do is if I want to remove something from an image, one of the things that I can do, and this is a really smart thing that Photoshop does, is a spot healing brush tool. And when I select it, you'll see that I can control the size of the brush. Okay, so that's, if you look over on the right here in the white, where it's in the white area where there's negative space, you can see the size of the brush, and that's the 112 pixels. You can go really high with this thing. See how now it's massive, and you can go really small with it. Now I'm going to tell you that the closer you zoom in and work before you start to get too pixelated that you can't see what you're doing, the better. The better the quality of the work that you're going to do. And so you may actually need these smaller tiny size brushes. I've got the brush over here. You might need these tiny brushes when you're wanting to pick out, I'm coming down here to where it's blue down here on the bottom on the right. I might want to just pick out one tiny little thing. Hardness, like all the brushes, it has to do with the edge. This is a soft edge, this is a completely hard edge, and this is somewhere in between. And then I can control the mode. Is it normal? Am I replacing it? Am I going to do blending mode? You can also use content aware, create texture, and proximity match. And then content aware is a tool where the computer is aware of the pixels around it. It takes that into the calculation of what it's doing. And this is something that they came out with. I'm trying to remember. It's been a couple of years, but it's still relatively new. You used to sort of be good luck, you're on your own. It just filled in whatever randomly, right? There was no algorithm, which is trigonometry and calculus, to calculate what you might really want to do. And so they made it smarter. And so they have content aware and proximity match that allow the computer to make determinations about what it's doing based on what's around it. Okay, so what I'm going to do just to start off here is I'm going to use a bigger brush. A little bit bigger here. Okay, there we go. Okay, and I'm going to do content aware, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to come to this white flower in the middle, and I'm going to start. And okay, that's what it did. And it's not at all what I wanted to do, but I want to show you what it does. It was, in this case, content aware. Okay. It read what was around it and thought that's what I wanted it to do. And it was wrong, as it so often can be. Now, however, it was very busy where I decided to do the, let me try down here where I'm going to just color what I want it to change. And you see it did a better job. And that's not at all what I want it to do in terms of adjusting my picture, but I just want to show you that the more similar, I don't even know that's proper grammar, the more the more similar that the area around it is, the smarter choices it's going to make. It's never going to completely erase your manual decision making, but it will help you with understanding how it works. Now, if I come over here on the right hand side and I want to remove this area, I just say I want all that to go away. it's really good about being able to remove that. Now, I don't know that I want that gone. Sometimes you just have to take things out, put things back in. I kind of like that it keeps that negative space from being too heavy. But what I do want to do is come down here to the bottom right, and I do want to take out some of these. Yeah, I want that gone. And then it's just letting me clean it up. It's doing a pretty good job. And you may have to go over an area a couple of times, but you see it just thinned that out. Yeah. There we go. And that's a lot better. Now, if I want to do something more complicated, I have other things that I can do. Now, let's try the proximity match. Okay, I'm going to go over the same area that I did before in the center of the flower with the proximity match checked. And I'm not even sure where that's pulling it from. Now, I'm going to do it over here. And content aware seems to work better. Okay, let's try this. I'm going to use my polygonal lasso tool, and I'm going to come over here and select these flowers. And I'm gonna use content aware. Okay. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit the delete key on my keyboard and content's content aware and say okay. Now, that's the decision it made. It worked perfectly fine over here where the content around it matched what I wanted, but it didn't work very well over here where it didn't, okay? So how am I gonna work with this? I'm gonna show you. Okay, so what I wanna do is, say I wanna take out this. Okay, delete, content aware, okay. And you see it did a much better job of just taking it out. Work in small sections. Okay, so let's say that I want this flower, I want to put it over here in this void. That's where this clone stamp tool comes in. Okay, I'm going to make the brush a lot bigger here so you can see it. Here's the brush. Okay, so this is how it works. I'm going to have to hold down the, it's an Alt key on a PC and Option key on a Mac. Okay, so Alt key, you hold that down on a PC, and Option key, you hold that down on a Mac, and you'll see it turns into this target. And I'm telling it that is where I want my reference point to be. And I click on that place, that location. And it's going to now, as you see I move my cursor off, you're going to see that is going to match with what's inside my cursor. And that as I draw now with my cursor, see I'm starting to draw in, fill in this area, as that plus sign on the left-hand side on the original flower, as that moves, it begins to copy the content from where the plus mark is into where, and this requires a little bit of practice to get good at it, but what it's doing essentially, and the nice thing is you can always erase some of this if you overdo it. There we go. So yeah, maybe just want that in front of it anyway. So let's just put that flower all the way. There we go. Okay, and it requires some dexterity to watch where that plus sign is to see where your boundary is. I'll go over some more. Got to look between. It requires just looking back and forth to copy the boundaries of that flower into the new space. And I would need to clean this up, and I can also, while I'm working, make my brush smaller or harder if I need it to be a sharper edge, and then come in here and do some really fine detail work. It's still working. See, I'm now coming in here on the right on the bottom flower and cleaning up those edges. I've made it a smaller, sharper. It's allowing me to get into these smaller places. There we go. And trace around the outside of the... Now, I'm going to come back up here to my upper flower and where the plus sign is, and I'm going to just trace around the outside boundaries there. And watch the one in the upper left-hand corner, not the bottom. Because what I'm doing now is I'm coordinating between the outline of that and my eye. Okay. And so now when I come back down here, I can see what I still need to fill in, and come down here on the bottom and fill it in. Whatever I outlined, I can fill in that area. Now, if it doesn't, if I overdid it and it's not something I want, I can erase it with the eraser tool. Just click on that eraser tool. Yeah, go back in here and it'll just take it out. Whoops, the flow on that's too low. You can adjust the flow on your tool and it will erase. Create that shadow. This just requires some practice. You can actually do really amazing things with this. You can restore an old photo, and in the next video we'll work on an older photo. But I just wanted to show you here on something I was working on, how that tool can help you clean up a photo or an image you have where you want to clean some things up, and it can also help you fill in gaps or move things over. So on the next one we'll work on an old photo.